Something is wrong with the stars tonight. They're humming quietly, like they're trying to warn me before it's too late. I haven't slept in 3 days, not since the strange symbols appeared on my skin, and the shadows outside my window started whispering my name. Everyone keeps telling me it's nothing, but the knocking at my door hasn't stopped since midnight. And the worst part? Whoever or whatever is out there, it refuses to leave unless I answer. They say you learn the shape of someone's life by the way they braid your hair. I would have laughed at that line if Kira Luminescent, 6 foot, iron jaw, alien roommate Kira, hadn't been sitting on my couch with 3 of my favorite scarves tangled around her fingers, and a very obvious intent to braid me into compliance. Hold still. Jonah, she said, voice like a piano string plucked underwater. Her markings thin, bioluminescent veins that traced her cheekbones, and the hollow of her throat flickered from soft teal to a curious gold as she studied me. Her hair wasn't hair, strictly. It was a living, filamentous crown, it shivered with color and lengthened like a slow live-streaming vine when she was amused. Today, it was an artful mess, half shorn in an old battle scar and half cascading like a comet tail. The ends tickled my collarbone and made my heartbeat feel like I'd run up 3 flights of stairs. You volunteer as tribute, I said, doing my best to sound breezy. I was seated on the rug between the coffee table and the couch, sleep-creased and guilty about letting dishes accumulate like tiny abstract sculptures in the sink. Kira regarded my sarcasm with the same clinical curiosity she reserved for my attempts at breakfast. Humans had a lot of ritual fluff. She didn't immediately process a ritual called watching a show about clothes, and another called crying at old cartoons. Braiding, apparently, was now on her list. This will calm you, she said. Kira's tone had a flat authority that could disarm a customs officer and a warship commander in the same sentence. On Taro 9, grooming is synchronous with stabilization. It aligns pulse matrices. She tapped my wrist as if demonstrating an algorithm. Also, your hair is particularly cooperative. I forced a laugh and leaned my head back. Her fingers were cool, almost ice-like, and surprisingly deft. When she began, the motion was hypnotic. 3 filaments wound neatly, each pass a practiced geometry. Her filaments were interlaced with mine, foreign and soft, catching the light. Up close, the smell was alien and intoxicating. Not a scent I could name more of a mineral sweetness and a low, metallic ozone that made the air feel interesting. You're not going to tie me up and send me to your people, right? I teased. She paused, eyes wide and perfectly literal. That would be poor diplomacy, she said. Unless you start plotting rebellion against the couch. A fraction of a smile, a corner softening. The bioluminescence at her temples brightened the color of her pupils. I felt it like warmth on the back of my neck. It was the kind of comfortable intimacy I'd expected after 6 months of sharing an apartment with an alien warrior. Shared groceries. I learned the hard way that Kira preferred smoldered root balls. Shared rent. She paid in 2 crates of something that hummed usefully. And now, shared hair. That should have been enough to make this feel normal, but Kira's hands slowed. For a second, the world narrowed to the small circle of her fingers at my nape, and the gentle, steadying pressure she exerted. Something flickered across her face, an internal recalibration, like static on an old radio, and then she inhaled. It was a breath, but not like ours. The air vibrated, the faintest humming note threading the apartment's acoustics. Her skin, where the markings ran, bloomed from teal to a molten violet, the glow spilling onto my skin like watercolors. Her filament hair stiffened. She made a sound at the back of her throat that I later learned was called a lilt, which, in Taro 9 dialect, signaled both surprise and a nascent drive. Oh. She said it like an observation. Then she made another sound that was less under control. A dusky, involuntary hum that set my molars ringing got my brain scrambled. Kira, you okay? The hum deepened, and the air seemed to coil between us. Pheromone, instinct, chemistry, call it what you want. The apartment suddenly smelled like thunder and old rain. My own skin prickled. The practical part of me wanted to jump up, clear the coffee table, put on a shirt. The more immediate part, less interested in social norms, found the warmth of Kira's radiance magnetic, like being drawn nearer a safe bonfire in a storm. Her grip tightened, not harshly, but certainly with intent. The glow along her throat spread like a rising tide. I did not anticipate this, she admitted, a human's nervous laugh trapped behind alien lungs. You didn't? I whispered, because my own voice sounded foreign in my ears. Did your people not have hair-related protocols? She snorted. The sound was flustered, indecorous, and it made the light along her jaw flare. On Tarl 9, raiding another is a binding preparation. It usually requires full consent and a subsequent exchange of pheromonal markers. She blinked. However, consent protocols differ among species. I misread your micro-stiffening as cooperative stillness, which I thought was just me being tired and trusting of an overly literal roommate. My humor cracked and stuck like tape. If anything, Kira's expression went tender. You are tired, Jonah, she observed. Also unexpectedly desirable. The last words were quieter, and the shimmering along her clavicle pulsed as if, in embarrassed applause, that we both knew the science and myths of cross-species biology. I'd read the bulletin boards, the forums with their salty, earnest warnings about pheromones and mating cycles. I was a rational person who lived in New Brooklyn, 2 trains from spontaneous combustion, and 1 planetary alignment from an increase in cafe pop-ups. Rationality, however, is often overrated when your chest feels like it's being softly prodded by a creature both deadly in combat and inexplicably warm now. Okay, I said, because that was still my go-to response to a crisis code for, I will attempt to manage this. What do we do? Is there a procedure? CPR but for mating instinct? She smiled, and the gold in her veins flared. On Tarl 9, stabilization requires sustained thermally coupled contact until pheromonal markers dissipate or synchronize. She recited, clinical and mortifying in equal measure. She looked at me with those soldier's eyes, uncompromising, direct. If I cannot complete the bonding sequence, it could trigger persistent luteal resonance. In English, you'll keep humming and glowing and possibly assassinate my productivity? I offered. That is an acceptable paraphrase. Her fingers found the hollow of my shoulder. The contact was electric. Her body heat rose against my skin, a pleasant, growing warmth that chased every cold corner of my bones. The hum low and urgent thrummed against my ear like an invitation. This is very forward, I managed. I have been forward since we unpacked your library, she said dryly, before the color returned to her voice. But yes, close contact will stabilize me. Oh, of course. The roommate handbook had a line for when your roommate's species confuses grooming with temporary life-bonding rituals. I had clearly missed that chapter. I could have objected. I could have stood up and put distance between us, and pretended the world hadn't started contracting in a way both terrifying and thrilling. Instead, my hands found her forearms and held on. Part of it, an embarrassingly large part, wanted to explore whether the warmth that bloomed beneath my palms was real. Part of it wanted to help her because Kira deserved help. She was a warrior who saved delivery drones from space gulls for fun and who once convinced our landlord to fix the fire escape using nothing but a polite threat and a very narrow translation of tenant rights. We sat like that, awkward and necessary. Me, trying to be the calm, rational human. Kira, a creature out of a legend I'd only half believed, humming like a small engine. Her shoulders relaxed against my chest. The glow along her neck mellowed from molten violet to a more intimate rose. With each minute, the hum settled, its pitch lowering as pheromonal gradients equalized. My heart hammered in my ears in accompaniment. "Do you?" I began, then cut myself off, because she was looking at me with those absolute, unreadable eyes. "You smell like citrus and old books," she said instead, as if cataloging. Her lashes, if you could call them that, they resembled a sweep of liquid silver fluttered. "And you taste like decaf regrets." I barked a laugh that turned into a soft, private chuckle. Decaf regrets. That's my brand. Outside, someone was playing a piano medley 2 floors down, a cheerful set of notes that felt suddenly like an audience. The apartment felt tiny and brave. Then the doorbell rang. Not a knock. Not the soft chirp of a neighbor's key. The bell, ringing with the clean efficiency of someone who had forgotten we lived in a world where interruptions existed. It sliced across the warm bubble we'd inflated. Kira stiffened. The glow along her side brightened again, not with the previous softness, but a hard, alert light neon and protective. Her fingers tightened around my wrist in a grip that said, in the ancient language of combatants, "Not on my watch. I have a visitor," she said. The words were precise, clipped. There was a new tone threaded through them, an almost possessive pitch that made something in my chest reorganize into a small reactive ache. "Shit," I said. "That's Maya," she said. She'd drop off my sentence trailed as the door clicked. My friend Maya, my actual human friend, human and chatty, and carrying a tote bag of what I suspected were pastries, stepped into the foyer. All bright smell and molasses-colored scarf. She stopped dead at the sight of Kira, who was now sitting with my head cushioned in her lap, glowing like an art installation and clutching my arm like a small suicide net of affection. "Oh," Maya said, which was the universal human response to something both beautiful and alarmingly unlabeled. Her gaze flicked to me, then to the bioluminescent filaments crowned over my nape, then back to Kira. "Ooh, hi." Kira's glow pulsed, just once, fiercely. "Maya," she said, and the single word held an edge that could cut through glass. Maya blinked, then laughed in that bewildered, diplomatic way she did when the world presented 2 truths at once. "Hi, Kira. Jonah? Are you too braiding? That's new." She looked between us with a curiosity that could have been affection or a threat. Kira's grip constricted a hair, and an involuntary possessive scent, something warm and iron bloomed from her like an armor got my heart, which had been an unhelpful metronome of panic and something delicious, gave a little lurch. Kira's eyes narrowed, not in anger, exactly, but in a very fierce, very readable line of proprietorship. "This is a private ritual," she told Maya. "You should leave." Maya lifted a shoulder, still smiling, still unsure whether to run or stay. "I can leave. I just left my donut. It's on the counter." Her eyes met mine in a conspiratorial flash. "Want me to come back later?" Kira's glow heated. "Bring the donut back later," she said with an alien's all-or-nothing seriousness. "Now." I laughed because if I didn't, I might cry or combust. Maya backed out, still smiling and still slightly disoriented. "Donut," echoing like a magic word. The door closed behind her. When the latch clicked, Kira sighed, a long steadying sound that sounded a little like apology and a lot like relief. Her forehead rested against mine, cool and aromatic. The hum receded into a calm, residual purr. "Sorry," she whispered. "I overreacted." "You threatened my dessert supply," I said, failing magnificently at being stern. "Also, you glow like a rejected disco lamp." She did a small, exasperated scoff, and the glow along her cheekbones softened to a fond silver. Jealousy is an inefficient response, she said. But protective circuits activated. Oh, protective circuits, I echoed, and my voice took on a smile. The apartment smelled, inexplicably, like cinnamon and impending decisions. We breathed there. In an aftershock, there was equal parts ridiculous and devastating. The ritual had been interrupted, but the thing it had unleashed, our strange, tentative closeness, remained. The braid against my spine felt heavier now, threaded with intent and a newly charged silence that promised both complication and something delicious. Kira's breath feathered my skin. "It is not finished," she murmured, and even her admission was gentle, like a scouting light. "The bonding sequence may require completion." My mouth went dry. Completion? My tone had that ridiculous stammer people reserve for roller coasters and unexpected confessions. "You mean the whole cultural, I just let the alien braid my hair, and now I'm possibly married thing?" She smiled then, slow and imperfect. Her pupils narrowed into harmless predatory crescents. "Perhaps married for a lunation," she said. "Or perhaps," her voice dropped, the heat in it making the air between us taste like summer. "Perhaps we kiss, Jonah, and check." The apartment hummed. The city outside carried on with its indifferent ruckus. My rational brain tried to file emergency forms and call an advice column. Instead, I found myself leaning in. Kira's hand cupped my cheek, gentle as if she were calibrating a delicate instrument. Her glow washed over us in a private, flaring tide. The world narrowed to the soft press of her fingers, to the electric thrum that still whispered in her chest, to the knowledge that whatever we did next would be an answer to all the questions that had sat between us like unread mail. And then, on the very edge of the moment, where choice and impulse balanced like a coin teetering on its rim, the story paused, because cliffhangers are hungry things, and I intended to feed it. The hum rose like a held breath between us, and for a moment, the only things in the apartment were the faint motor song in Kira's chest, the steady thrum of my own blood, and the braid anchoring us like a slippery rope between key and tide. Her fingers at my nape were warm. My hands still rested on her forearms, because fleeing felt dishonest and ridiculous. "Check?" I asked, absurdly formal. "We'll do the science check." Kira made a sound that was half amusement, half impatience. "If you prefer empirical verification, then yes. We will check." She tilted my chin up with two careful filaments, so her eyes, those molten, unreadable eyes, were level with mine. Up close, there were constellations moving under her irises, patterns that made me dizzy. The glow along her jaw rose and pooled at the base of her throat like a slow, private sunrise. "You're really doing this like a field study," I said, trying for lightness. It came out as a breathy joke. The edges blurred with the heat that had nothing to do with the apartment thermostat. "Field work is efficient," she said. "Also, if the sequence requires contact completion, literal proximity is the straightforward solution." Right, literal proximity. No mention of ceremony, contracts, or the small print that might come with accepting a bond from a species with a warrior caste, and a very literal approach to romance. I nudged my forehead against hers because, well, I could feel my cheeks had nowhere polite to go. Her hum deepened and agreeable, settling vibration that threaded itself into my ribs. The bioluminescent veins along her temples stuttered into a constellation of gold flecks. If she was nervous, she didn't show it the way I would. She showed it by going beautiful and very bright. I wanted to tell her she didn't have to do this for my sake, that we could take a step back, order pizza, and argue about nothing important. Instead, the impulse to be honest pushed out in a softer, braver voice. "Kira," I said, "I don't know your rituals. I don't want," I swallowed, "to be an accident." She blinked slowly. "Nor do I," she admitted. Nor did I expect my grooming to activate a mating buffer. We miscalculated without intent. Her filaments brushed my ear, sending a shiver down my neck. But Jonah, she hesitated, then finished with a bluntness that landed like a stone in my palms. You wound me differently than any storage drone I have disassembled. That is new. That is meaningful. Meaningful. The word had a weight against it that felt like gravity. My chest unclenched in a small, ridiculous way. I laughed without meaning to, because of course we were here. A human who overcooked his pasta, and an alien warrior who could braid a person into cultural entanglement. Life was a sitcom with better lighting. Okay, I said. So we complete? Check? My voice sounded foolishly hopeful. She inclined her head, emotion smooth as a drawn blade. We touch close and true. We check. If the pheromonal sequences align, then stabilization will occur. If not, we seek alternatives. My heart tried to rearrange my ribs into something less useless. All right then? I let my hand slide from her wrist up to the side of her face. Her skin was cool under my palm, not reptilian or alien in the painful sense, but like river stones polished smooth. The glow that met my fingertips was brighter now, washed with rose. Her hum matched mine, and for a delicious second, our rhythms made a new pattern. Then I leaned in. I'd kissed before. I'd kissed in apartments with better lighting and worse furniture. I had not kissed a warrior with filament hair that shivered when pleased, whose markings flared like lanterns. The kiss was not cinematic at first. It was the gentle meeting of curiosity and consent. When our lips brushed, the apartment became a moot point of physics. Light bloomed, sound folded inward, and there was the sensation of two different species fitting for one heartbeat. Like puzzle pieces scavenged from different shelves. Kyra's mouth was soft and deliberate. She tasted faintly of metal and something floral, like a memory of rivers. The hum that had been a current in her chest rose and braided with mine until it was impossible to tell where one note ended and the other began. Her hands moved up my spine with a soldier's careful claim. My fingers threaded into her filament hair, amazed at the living texture that trembled beneath my touch. The kiss deepened without us planning it. It was both a confirmation and an experiment. Yes, this fit. No, this did not erupt into catastrophe. A warmth spread from the point of contact and rolled through her like tide over sand. Her glow flared, a spectacular bloom, then softened into a steady, connected pulse. The hum shifted down to a comfortable purr. When we broke apart, it was with the quiet that follows a sudden shared secret. Kira's breath ghosted over my lips. Her eyes were brighter than before, lucid and oddly vulnerable. You stabilized, she said, the simplest sentence, and the whole apartment seemed to tilt on it. Yes, I replied, because my brain had finally caught up with my mouth. I felt like I'd just stepped through a door into a room that we both now owned. Relief washed through her features. And for a second, she looked entirely without armor, an expression so stunning, I wanted to memorize it. She reached up and tucked a filament of her hair behind my ear with such domestic tenderness that I laughed. That was the most undignified thing I have done since I forgot my own battle cry. You mean since last Tuesday, when you whispered to the toaster? I teased, the words smoothing the last of my nerves. She snorted an alien variant of the sound we call laughter, and the glow at her temples flickered, amused. We stayed like that for a heartbeat, suspended in the warm afterglow of mutual triumph. Then my apartment buzzer trilled, an electronic chirp that sounded like the universe, reminding us of all the mundane mechanics still in play. Kira's head snapped up. The glow around her pupils went sharp, a blade returning to sheath. Again? I groaned. Who is interrupting destiny with timing? Kira's filaments quivered. It could be an envoy, she said. deadpan in a way that might have meant anything from troublesome official to delivery of very important snacks. I pushed up, suddenly aware of how exposed I felt, how intimate the apartment seemed with two people suddenly, undeniably bonded in the biological sense. "Do you want me to?" I started, and Kira cut me off by grabbing my hand and squeezing it. "A small, private anchor. Do not let anyone in without evaluating their intent," she ordered. The command crisp and unintentionally possessive. Her jaw set in a way that made my stomach do an odd flip. The soldier was back. The roommate had gone home for a moment and left her armor on the dresser. I crossed to the intercom and peered at the grainy figure on the screen, a courier in a reflective jacket, a face I half recognized as the building's usual package person. Relief and annoyance warred. "Parcel," I muttered. Kira watched me, eyes dark and intent, then reached up to touch the braid at my nape, the one she'd woven, and for a fraction of a second her fingertips trembled. "Do not accept gifts with unknown intent," she said quietly. "Also, do not let them bring cake into our space." "Noted," I said, and buzzed the courier in. The door thunked open downstairs. The courier's footsteps were rapid. A neighbor called out hello. Everything ordinary tried very hard to resume its place, but the air between Kira and me had rearranged itself. There was a new architecture of proximity and obligation, a web spun in private and now masquerading as casual roommate behavior. The courier arrived at the door, delivered the package, and left. The building resumed its chorus of footsteps and distant music. I set the box on the counter and turned back to Kira, expecting the gap between us to fill with gentle domestic conversation. Instead, her expression had darkened, thoughtful in a way that made my stomach drop. "Kira?" I asked. She was looking at the braid, my braid, now threaded with her living filaments, and her fingers brushed it like a scholar touching fragile scripture. "The sequence registered," she said slowly. "There is a trace sigil in your cuticle patterns now. It is minimal but present." "A trace sigil?" My voice was a combination of curiosity and mild terror. "Is that good? Bad? Is there fine print?" Kira's lips quirked into something dangerously like a smile. "On Tarl 9, even a trace sigil indicates acknowledgement. Most commonly, an informal bond. It requires a formal ceremony to ratify a prolonged union. Or, alternately, a declaration of non-binding intent within 2 local cycles. 2 local cycles, lunations, a small calendar of days that, until a few minutes ago, had meant nothing to me. Now they felt like a ticking clock. The city hummed obliviously outside, as if nothing important had shifted inside our apartment, but everything had. I stared at her and felt a rush of adrenaline that was equal parts exhilaration and panic. "So, we might be sort of bonded?" Kira's pupils contracted in a smile I could almost read as amusement and maybe, if I was very lucky, satisfaction. "Possibly," she said. "This may require further negotiation." My heart leapt into my throat. Negotiation? Like bargaining at a market stall? Or... She reached up and silenced me with a light press against my lips, more gentle than command. "Like we decide together, Jonah. Not Tarl 9 law. Not immediate. Just decide." Before I could form a proper answer, my phone vibrated on the counter, lighting up with a message from Maya. "Forgot the donut. Sorry, can I come back?" The timing was comedic and terrible. Kira watched the screen, then looked back at me, and in that moment, her expression folded into something fierce and tender. The room seemed to constrict pleasantly around that look. "We will decide," she said again, this time a promise. "After we have coffee. And after you let me finish the braid." The words were both a sentence and a beginning. I laughed, breathless and giddy, and reached for her hand. Deal. We hadn't agreed on everything, far from it, but there was a new map between us. scribbled in the glow along her veins and the braid at my nape. I imagined a future with awkward cultural crossovers, with stolen kisses and confused roommates, with ceremonies whose paperwork would probably be a nightmare. Then my intercom chimed once more, a different tone this time, sharp and urgent. Kira's head snapped up, and the color in her markings sharpened like a dagger. Another visitor? I asked, my voice small. Her hand tightened around mine. Not a visitor, she said. A signal. From the hall. My knees went cold. The hall wasn't something small. It was a place where warriors and law were woven together. From the hall? I echoed. Kira's eyes were solemn. They require my presence, she said. And it would be prudent for you to come with me. My laugh died somewhere between my ribs. Come with you? To the hall? Aye. She kissed me then brief, claiming an anchor before the storm. When she pulled away, her glow was a hard, steady gold. We will go together, she said. But her fingers brushed the braid again, possessive and gentle. First finish breakfast with me. Then, everything? The intercom clicked, then a deep, resonant voice filled the room. Kira of House Vesh. Report to the hall. Immediate. The words were formal and blunt. A summons that carried the weight of other people's expectations. Kira's jaw set. She looked at me, all of her warrior's discipline and something unspoken braced in her gaze. We're leaving in 10 minutes, she said. Bring shoes. Bring the braid. Bring your consent. My brain fizzed. Shoes? The braid? Consent? My life had taken a sharp and glittering turn in 3 small hours. And somewhere beyond the door, a hall waited with statutes and stairs. Consent, I echoed. The word echoing like a promise, and a cliff edge both. Kira smiled half soldier, half something softer, and leaned in to whisper against my ear, the warmth of her breath a current. Consent, she confirmed. And Jonah be brave. I swallowed. I had no idea what lay at the other side of that summons. But I also had Kira's hand in mine, and the knowledge that, at least for now, our rhythms matched. Outside, New Brooklyn rolled on, unaware. Inside, 2 people sat tangled by a braid and a sudden, extraordinary possibility. We had 10 minutes. 10 minutes is not actually enough time for a human brain to prepare for a summons from an alien warrior's governing body. What it is enough time for? Panic scrambling for socks, forgetting where I put my keys, accidentally brushing against Kira's glowing shoulder, and short-circuiting half my reasoning skills, and trying very hard to pretend my hands weren't still shaking. From the kiss, the one that supposedly completed a stabilization sequence, but also happened to melt about 6 incompatible emotions together in my chest. Kira stood by the door like a sentinel carved out of light. Her markings had dimmed to a quiet, controlled gold warrior mode, I guessed. Her expression was neutral, but her filament hair kept drifting toward me, unbidden, as if magnetized. Jonah, she said as I shoved my feet into boots I hadn't worn since the last rainstorm. Your epidermis is flushed. Are you overheating? No, I muttered, tightening a lace. I am. Processing. Processing is normal, she said gently. Humans have a high emotional load when confronted with authority structures and sudden shifts in social bond status. That is a very polite way of saying I'm freaking out, I said. Grabbing my jacket, she tilted her head in a slow, deliberate way that always made me feel casually examined. If you prefer that phrase, yes. I groaned into my collar. Great, amazing, love that for me. Kira reached out, hooking a filament behind my ear, not quite touching skin, not quite harmless either. The gesture was practical and intimate in the way only an alien warrior could manage. You will be safe, she said. I will not allow harm to come to you. A strange warmth surged through me, steady, anchoring. I know, I said. But maybe give me a heads up? What does the hall want? Are we in trouble? Her markings flickered. Not trouble, she assured. Most likely. Recognition. That does not help, I whispered. Kira touched the braid trailing down my back, her weave. Her filaments still threaded faintly through it. They detected the bond sequence. My stomach dropped. From here? Through what? Wi-Fi? Through pheromonal signatures, she corrected. And resonance fields. Our building's air filtration system is surprisingly permeable. Great, I muttered. So the vents snitched. She exhaled a soft hum that was almost laughter. The hall merely wishes for clarity. A bond, even informal, is politically relevant. Politically. Kira, I'm a barista who can't fold laundry right. She stepped closer, close enough that her glow brushed my collarbone. And you are the person I chose to braid. My heart performed a full gymnastics routine. Okay, I said, breath shaky. Let's go before I talk myself into a coma. New Brooklyn had buildings of all flavors. Neon towers humming with music. Retro diners shaped like old satellites. Walkways lined with vendors selling everything from glowing noodles to biodegradable socks. The Hall of Vesh stood among all that chaos like a cathedral from another world, sleek. Obsidian pillars rising 3 stories high, etched with symbols that shifted when you blinked. A faint auroral shimmer curled above its roof like a permanent sunset. People stared as we approached. Not at me, the city had seemed weirder than a sleep-deprived human, but at Kira, whose warrior markings had brightened. Now that we were near her domain. 2 tall sentinels stood at the entrance, armored in plates that looked like metal but moved like fabric. When they saw Kira, both straightened sharply. Kira of House Vesh, one intoned. And the human? Kira's hand went to my shoulder in a gesture that was both protective and subtly territorial. This is Jonah, she said. My chosen participant. Chosen. Participant. I was going to explode. The guard nodded, as if that explained everything. Proceed. The elders await. My legs wobbled like overcooked noodles as we entered. The interior was a hall of mirrored stone and warm light, filled with the hum of alien technology that vibrated in my teeth. Kira walked with that warrior stride, precise, grounded. I followed, feeling very much like a +1 to a wedding. I didn't remember. RSV pinged to . We stepped into a circular chamber where 5 figures in flowing, bioluminescent robes stood around a shallow pool of shimmering liquid. Their markings glowed in shifting patterns. Voices seemed to whisper from nowhere, and everywhere. One elder, a tall, silver-veined woman, looked at me with eyes like molten mercury. Human Jonah, she said. Step forward. I did not step. I shuffled like someone trying not to trip over the idea of existence. Kira stood beside me, posture rigid and ready. The elder studied the braid at my nape. Kira's braid, her eyes narrowing. The weave contains filaments of House Vesh. The human carries the trace sigil. A preliminary bond has occurred. Silence pressed around us. Kira spoke first. The ritual was initiated unintentionally. Stabilization required contact. The human consented. I swallowed loudly. The elder turned to me. Human Jonah, do you confirm consent? The rune tilted. I wasn't used to being the one asked for formal approval, especially not with Kira's hand hovering near mine, warm and trembling just slightly. Yes, I said hoarsely. I consented, and I don't regret it. Kira's head snapped toward me, markings flaring in a way that unmistakably said she heard something important. The elder's gaze softened minutely. Then you stand at a threshold. A preliminary bond requires either dissolution within 2 cycles, or progression to formal union. Her voice flowed like water over stone. Have you discussed this path? I said, aware that everyone in the room could probably hear my heartbeat. We discussed coffee. A ripple of amusement passed through the elders, so subtle it might have been the air. Kira straightened. We intend to decide together. The elder nodded. Then we will not formalize. However, she raised her hand, and the pool before us rippled, projecting an image of intertwined golden threads. A preliminary bond cannot be entirely hidden. The sigil will grow if nourished. Others may notice. My throat tightened. Notice how? Your proximity. Your resonance fields. Your shared scent. Shared what now? Kira cleared her throat. Do not panic. Too late. The elder's eyes held a spark of kindness. You will not be forced. You will not be separated. But bonds are felt. That is their nature. Kira exhaled, the sound a soft tremor. I glanced up at her, and for the first time since we arrived, she looked uncertain. Not fearful, but exposed. The elder's gaze flicked between us. We offer guidance if sought. Otherwise your bond is yours to tend. And just like that, the pressure in the room eased. The elders stepped back, robes glowing softly, and the pool dimmed. You may go, one said. Together. The afternoon light hit my face like a benediction as we stepped out of the hall. My brain felt like it had been through an orbital. Slingshot. Kira walked beside me in silence for half a block before finally exhaling hard. Jonah, I apologize. Don't, I said immediately. I brought you into a situation of consequence. Yeah, I said, but you also held my hand through it. She stopped walking, turned toward me. Her markings glowed soft and unsure. You consented, she said, without hesitation. I laughed. Kira, I was terrified. And still, she murmured. Stepping closer, you consented. A warmth spread from the braid at my nape down my spine, some latent echo of the bond. She reached out, fingertips brushing my jaw. Jonah, may I ask something? My breath caught. Anything. Her voice lowered intimate, trembling just slightly. When the elder spoke, you said you didn't regret it. Yeah, I whispered. I meant it. The glow along her cheekbones brightened in a soft, blooming shimmer more tender than anything I'd seen from her. Then, she said, voice warm as dusk, may I? She never finished, because suddenly, from behind us, someone called, Hey, Jonah. We turned. And there, waving a pastry bag and wearing the world's brightest grin, was Maya. Again. My soul attempted to ascend straight out of my body. Kira's markings flared in a sharp, protective gold. Maya jogged toward us. Utterly unaware she was walking into the aftermath of an alien near proposal, Kira murmured low enough that only I could hear. This one. Again. And just like that, the chaos was only beginning. Maya's boots clacked on the pavement as she bounded to our side, waving the pastry bag like a victory flag. I could feel Kira stiffen beside me. The glow in her markings sharpened from soft sunrise pink to a defensive ember gold. Jonah. Maya beamed. Great news. I found your donut. Kira made a noise quiet, almost imperceptible, but the kind of sound that, if translated into human language, would mean, I am extremely close to removing this person from the gene pool. Maya, I said, attempting a normal, civil tone, despite being one breath away from spontaneous combustion. Hi, again. She skidded to a stop, immediately noticing the tension. Her eyes flicked between me and Kira, who was visibly glowing in ways that would make a nightclub jealous. Oh, Maya said slowly. Did I interrupt something? Again? Yes, Kira replied instantly. No, I said at the same time. We both looked at each other. Her markings flickered annoyance. Amusement? Ancient Tarl 9 emotional code for my rival approaches? Hard to tell. Maya raised both hands defensively. I'm just delivering the donut. Geez, didn't realize pastries were a political event. She held out the bag toward me. I reached for it. Kira reached faster. She plucked the bag from Maya's hand with the speed of a protective hawk. He has consumed enough carbohydrate today, she declared. I blinked. Kira, what? Maya stared. Is that alien for back off? That's my man's donut? Kira's glow flared, like someone turned her brightness, setting to territorial sun. Maya, I said quickly. This is not. It feels like that, Maya whispered conspiratorially. Jonah, did you get married while I was gone for 5 minutes? I choked. Kira stiffened. Her filaments twitched like startled antennae. Define. Married, I said weakly. Kira shot me a look that said, Jonah, do not. Maya squinted at us. You guys are doing a bit, right? A joke? A role play? She wiggled her eyebrows. Some people do cosplay couples therapy. We are not cosplaying, Kira said with warrior dignity, so intense it could have vaporized shame itself. Yeah, Maya, I added. Seriously. This is just complicated. Maya folded her arms. Well, it's weirdly adorable. And also weird. Which is basically your entire vibe, Jonah, so I approve. My soul collapsed like a flan in a cupboard. Anyway, she continued, clapping her hands, I'm heading to the market. Text me if you need anything. Or if you want me to officiate something. I've apparently stumbled into whatever this is. She waved, spun on her heel, and trotted away. The moment she disappeared around the corner, Kira exhaled with the force of a pressure valve releasing. That one is persistent, she muttered. She's my friend, I said. She appeared during a bonding sequence, Kira countered. Twice. It's coincidence. Her markings dimmed slightly. Coincidence is statistically unlikely. I sighed. She was delivering a donut. Kira lifted the bag as if examining a suspicious artifact. She brings offerings. It's a donut, not a tribute. Kira narrowed her eyes. I am analyzing your friend's intentions. I rubbed my face. Kira, please, Maya is not my romantic anything. Silence. Then Kira's glow softened in an unguarded, almost relieved way. Good, she said quietly. I did not enjoy the idea. My chest tightened in a warm and terrifying way. Really? She looked away, the warrior facade briefly cracking. Your scent changed when you kissed me. Your pulse shifted. The idea of another interfering is unpleasant, I swallowed. Hard. Unpleasant in a possessive way? I asked, because apparently I liked emotional danger. She met my gaze directly. Yes. My heart did a complicated dance that ended in a very messy landing. Okay, I murmured. So, what now? Kira stepped closer. Not looming. Not intimidating. Just present. Her glow gentled into a blush-like shimmer, soft and warm. We decide, she said, as the elders instructed. Right, I said. Decide. Together. She placed one hand over the braid at my nape, her claim, her ritual, her accidental, but not really accident. Jonah, do you regret the bond? The world became too quiet, too soft. No, I said honestly. Not even a little. Something in her expression loosened beautifully. Then, she said, I will answer your question. What question? The one you almost asked, she murmured. I blinked. Which? Her fingertips brushed my cheek, gentle as a pulse. You wish to know how a preliminary bond grows. I did, actually. I very much did. Yeah, I admitted. I'm curious. Her voice lowered into that warm, shimmering register that always made the air thrum. It grows. Through proximity. Through shared breath. Through touch. She paused, eyes flickering to my lips. Through repeated contact. O. So, she continued, as neutral as a scientist describing fruit. The more time we spend close, the faster it strengthens. And if we don't? I whispered. The sigil dims, she said. The bond dissolves. We return to what we were. A heartbeat passed, then another. I didn't realize I'd stepped closer until our breaths mingled. Kira, I said, voice catching. Do you want it to grow? The glow at her throat brightened with a sudden, aching openness. Yes, she said simply. If you choose the same. My brain melted. I said the only thing that felt true. I want it. She inhaled a soft, startled sound, like a warrior unprepared for good news. Her hand slid to my jaw. A quiet hum rose in her chest. Then Jonah, she whispered, leaning in. Come closer. I did, but before our lips met, a deep boom echoed through the street. Not a car, not construction. Resonance that vibrated the pavement under our feet. Kira froze. Instantly warrior again. That, she said, voice sharp, is not natural. I turned. A low rising glow flickered in the distance, pale blue, rippling like heat haze. Kira. What is that? Her eyes widened. Resonance beacon, she breathed. Someone has activated an unregistered bond call. A what? It is used, she said grimly, by someone seeking to challenge a bond. My blood ran cold. Challenge? As in fight? Kira stepped in front of me, shielding me with her body. Yes, she said, markings flaring bright. And they are coming here. The street thrummed with approaching energy. Our bond had barely formed, and someone already wanted to break it. I whispered, Kira. Who's coming? Her pupils narrowed, sharp and dangerous. My former co-commander, she said. And he believes he has a claim. My heart lurched. What do we do? Kira's hand slid firmly into mine, warrior tough, warm, unyielding. We stand together, she said. And Jonah braced herself. A silhouette stepped out of the shimmering blue haze. Tall, armored, glowing, and, looking directly at me, the air crackled. Kira, he said. Voice like thunder. You braided a human? Kira stepped forward, glow flaring like a star. Yes, she growled. He is mine. And just like that, everything exploded into motion. The words cracked through the air like lightning, not metaphorical lightning, actual lightning. A flash of white gold light snapped from Kira's markings, arcing into the pavement at her feet. The shockwave rippled outward in a shallow wave of shimmering heat. Her former co-commander slowed his stride, the blue haze peeling off him like steam from a wildfire. He was enormous, easily 7 feet, muscles built like someone engineered for grappling with starships. His armor bore the crest of House Vesh, but serrated, sharper, more aggressive. Markings darker than Kira's. A deep indigo rippled across his face. He stopped about 10 steps away and stared at me like I was a defective toaster inexplicably chosen as a spouse. This is absurd, he rumbled. A human? A fragile one? I'm resilient, I said automatically. Nobody looked at me. Kira's stance widened, her body sliding subtly between me and the threat. Commander Rawl, she said, voice low and edged. Your presence is unauthorized. I sensed a bond flare, he replied. I came to assess. His eyes flicked slowly to the braid at my nape. And to correct it. Kira growled, actually growled. The hum in her chest deepened to a bass vibration that rattled the loose buttons on my jacket. Rawl's eyebrows rose. You're protective. A pause. You braided him on purpose? Kira's glow intensified. The bond is ours. Step away. Raul shifted his attention to me. It felt like standing under a microscope designed by a military laboratory. He said, voice booming enough that a nearby storefront's window rattled. Human Jonah. Present, I squeaked. Do you understand the significance of a warrior braid? I glanced at Kira for help. She gave the tiniest nod answer honestly. Mostly, I said. Sort of. We're working on clear communication. Raul scoffed. You do not grasp even a fraction. Probably not, I admitted. But I'm a fast learner? His glow flickered in disgust. I will dissolve this bond and spare you the consequences. Kira snarled. You will not touch him. Raul's expression sharpened into something predatory. You defy me? After everything? Everything. My stomach clenched at the weight of that word. History. Battlefield memories. Former camaraderie. A shared life before me. Kira stood firm. The past is not a claim. Jonah is my chosen. Raul inhaled sharply. This is not a choice. This is instinct. He gestured at the braid. Uncontrolled. Dangerous. His gaze narrowed. Disastrous. Kira didn't force me into anything, I snapped, surprising even myself. We figured it out together. She explained everything. I said yes. Raul blinked surprised, maybe before his expression hardened further. You think consent matters in resonance law? Kira's voice cut through the air like a blade. Yes, something like shock flickered behind Raul's eyes. Then anger replaced it. So be it, he said. If the human insists on maintaining the bond, then I must challenge it formally. My knees buckled internally. Challenge? What does that mean? It means, Raul said, voice heavy with ritual, that your suitability must be tested. Tested how? I asked, fearing the worst. Combat? Arm wrestling? Cosmic trivia? Through proof, he declared. Through resonance alignment. I blinked. Meaning? Kira's voice turned grim. He challenges the bond's legitimacy. He believes our resonance is unstable. The test requires demonstration. I swallowed. Hard. Demonstration of what? Raul answered for her. Emotional synchronization. O.O. You must physically show that your bond with Kira is real, he said. My skin flushed hot. Defined physically. Touch, Kira whispered. Connection. The hall's resonance watchers will observe the field shifts. If our bond is genuine, they will see. My eyes widened. Wait, so we? Hug? Hold hands? Kiss? Raul looked faintly offended by the options. The form is irrelevant. Only the result. My heart hammered. Right, sure, great, zero pressure. But be warned, Raul added, voice dripping authority. If the bond is weak, the field collapses. You will be separated, permanently, and I will take her place at her side once more. A cold dread shot through me, separated, from Kira, permanently. Her fingers brushed mine light. Brief, but trembling. Jonah, she murmured. Voice barely audible. We can do this. She believed in us. In this bond she didn't plan for. In me. My heart steadied under the courage in her glow. I nodded. Okay, let's prove it. Raul stepped back, crossing his arms. Begin. A crowd had started forming, humans, aliens, a few tourists pulling out cameras. The street hummed with tension. Kira lifted both her hands. Jonah, she said softly. I stepped closer. Her markings warmed, pulsing with each breath. Place your hands here, she guided, lifting mine to her shoulders. Her skin was cool and electric. My pulse raced. She pressed her forehead to mine, breath mingling with mine. The closeness stole the world away. It was intimate, very intimate, but not overwhelming. It felt like a promise suspended in air. Kira, I whispered. I'm scared. I am too, she breathed, voice vibrating against my lips. But with you, I am not afraid. My chest tightened. Behind us, Rawl scoffed. This is nothing but sentiment. Quiet, Kira snapped without moving her head from mine. I almost laughed almost dot, then Kira cupped my cheek. And a hum in her chest rose slow, tender, growing in intensity dot, and suddenly, it clicked. This wasn't about spectacle. It wasn't about Rawl. It wasn't even about the elders, dot, it was about us. Our yes, our choice. Our impossible, accidental, beautiful bond. I slid my hand to the back of her neck. Her breath hitched, glow flaring brilliant rose gold. The braid brushed my collarbone like a living pulse. Kira, I whispered. Look at me. She did, eyes molten, open, vulnerable, and that was enough. Our lips met. The kiss wasn't desperate. It was steady, grounded, certain. The glow around you brightened so fast the crowd gasped. Light spiraled from our joined bodies, lifting like rising dust motes in slow motion. A soft hum enveloped us, hers, blending with mine in a perfect harmonic resonance. The air vibrated. The pavement trembled, and a warm dome of shimmering gold expanded from our kiss, rippling outward like a heartbeat. The crowd murmured. Rawl staggered back, stunned dot, because the bond wasn't just real dot, it was radiant. Kira pulled back only when the resonance settled, her forehead resting against mine, breath shaking with emotion. Jonah, she whispered. That was, but Rawl interrupted with a strangled noise. Impossible, he growled. A human shouldn't, your resonance shouldn't. It did, Kira said simply. The gold light fizzled gently over us like stardust. Rawl stared first at her, then at me, eyes wide with something between disbelief and reluctant respect. The bond, he said quietly. It holds. A beat. You win. Kira straightened. We weren't competing. Rawl gave a humorless laugh. Perhaps not. But you have proven me wrong. Then, to my shock, he bowed his head. You have my acknowledgement, he said to Kira, then to me. And my recognition, human Jonah. I blinked. Thanks? Rawl nodded once, curt and solemn, then dissolved back into blue haze gone. The street fell silent. Then a woman yelled, That was hot. A teenager shouted, Do it again. Someone else clapped dot. I was dead. Absolutely deceased. Kira, glowing like a soft supernova, turned back to me, and in a rare, breathtaking moment, her expression transformed into something gentle and proud. You did well. Jonah, she murmured. I kissed you in front of half the city. Yes, she said warmly. Effectively. My face combusted. Kira stepped close again, her hand finding mine. Now, she said softly, with the challenge ended. We can decide freely. I swallowed. Decide? What happens next? Her glow pulsed in a slow, intimate rhythm. Yes, she whispered. Together. And just when I thought my heart couldn't handle any more, my phone buzzed. Maya. Hey, are you two glowing again? News drones are heading your way, low. Kira's expression collapsed into utter horror. The chaos was officially far from over. The moment I read Maya's text, a soft mechanical hum filled the air like a swarm of very determined electric bees. Kira's face shifted from post-bond triumph to pure warrior panic in under a second. Drones, she hissed. Multiple. Approaching fast. I looked up. Yep. A flock of compact news drones, sleek, silver spheres with blinking blue lights, was gliding down the street like gossip-hungry vultures. One already had its lens trained on us, red indicator blinking wreck. Oh no, I said. Oh no. Kira, a synthetic voice boomed. is it true you have taken a human mate? A second drone word, zooming closer. Is this the first Tarl 9 human pairing in New Brooklyn? A third. Please confirm if the public display of bioluminescent resonance was consensual. Kira made a sound somewhere between a growl and a soft, mortified hum. This is unacceptable, she muttered, grabbing my wrist. Jonah, we must flee. Flee? I squeaked, as if I were being hunted by the paparazzi version of a bee swarm. Where? Why? She squeezed my hand tighter. Because your world has an unhealthy fixation on spectacle, and mine has strict boundaries about public bonding displays. The drones zoomed closer. Kira. Jonah, one chirped. Smile if you are officially courting. Kira snarled at it. The drone instantly backed up a few feet, its lens trembling. I tugged her hand. Let's move. We ran. We dashed into a side alley, shaded by tall neon-lit fire escapes that buzzed faintly with leftover hologram residue. Kira didn't just run, she glided, every step precise, her warrior training visible in every movement. I, meanwhile, was navigating the journey with the grace of a man who had not expected to do cardio today. She pulled me through a maze of alleyways, narrow streets, and even one questionable shortcut to a noodle shop that absolutely did not appreciate our intrusion. Humans. The chef shouted. Use the front door like, oh my God, she's glowing, sorry. I yelled, nearly crashing into a hanging lantern. Finally. After weaving a complex pattern of turns that I would never be able to retrace, Kira yanked me behind a tall recycling unit and pressed me against the brick wall. Her bioluminescent glow dimmed rapidly as she controlled her breathing. The hum in her chest lowered from battle anthem to mildly insulted lullaby. I, meanwhile, tried not to pass out. Are we safe? She peered around the unit. Momentarily. Great, I wheezed. I love being momentarily safe. She turned back to me and then paused. Jonah, she murmured. I blinked. What? She stepped closer. You are flushed. It's called exercise, I said. Humans do that when they're trying not to die. She ignored the joke completely and reached up, gently brushing my cheek with the back of her knuckles. Your pulse is elevated. And your scent is... She hesitated, glowing faintly. Stronger. Is that good? Her markings pulsed softly. Yes. My heart tried to escape through my ears, but then her expression shifted, growing serious, almost solemn. Jonah, she said quietly, the challenge today. Rawl's arrival. It changes more than you realize. I swallowed. Like what? She looked away for a moment, gathering something like courage. When a bond is publicly challenged and defended, the cultural weight increases. Cultural weight, I repeated. That sounds like a very polite phrase for complicated. It means, she said carefully, that others may see us as more formalized than we truly are. More committed. My stomach fluttered. As in, your people think we're engaged? She exhaled. Not engaged. Not yet. I froze. Not yet. A word that crackled like electricity. Kira, I croaked. Did you just say yet? Her markings flared briefly, shy and bright. A slip of language. That was not a slip. That was a GPS coordinate to emotional ruin. But before I could comment, she continued. More importantly, the hall will now expect updates. We cannot pretend our bond is nothing. Do you want to pretend it's nothing? I asked softly. She stiffened, then met my gaze directly. No, she said. I do not. The air between us turned warm, dense, charged. Her hand moved to the braid she'd woven, fingers lingering as if checking it was still there. But I worry. About burdening you. About your world interfering. about Rawl or others attempting to claim what is not theirs. I stepped closer, not thinking, just moving toward her warmth. Kira, you're not burdening me. You are human, she said, voice low. You have your own life, your own patterns, your own connections. Her jaw flexed. And I do not want to tear you from them. I reached up, touching her cheek gently. Kira, you're not tearing me from anything. You're adding something. She inhaled sharply, glow pulsing like a heartbeat against her skin. We stood there in the narrow alley, inches apart, her eyes molten gold, mine probably wide with feelings I barely understood. Her voice dropped. Then, may I ask something bold? Always, I whispered. She hesitated. Then, Jonah, do you wish to cultivate the bond? Silence crashed down on us like snowfall. Cultivate. The alien word echoed in my head, tinged with meaning. It wasn't just continue or maintain. It was more like, do you want to grow this with me? Deepen it? Explore where it leads? Her question hung in the air. And then, hey, rustling noise above us. We both froze. Something peered over the fire escape railing. A face. A camera. A drone? No, worse. Oh my God, a woman whispered. They're having a tender moment. Kira's glow snapped from romantic soft to alarm red, standing on the fire escape, staring down with starstruck awe. Was a teenage girl with a holo camera recording everything. They're like the it couple of interspecies romance. She squealed to her device. #Bond buddies. Kira lunged upward with frightening speed. The girl shrieked and bolted along the fire escape, her boots clanging as she fled. I leaned against the wall, groaning. We're doomed. Kira landed beside me in a single smooth motion. Your world has no privacy. Welcome to Earth, I muttered. Population nosy. She sighed a low, vibrating sound that, despite everything, sounded adorable. But then her glow softened again, and she angled her face toward me. Jonah, she murmured. I still await your answer. Right. Her question. Do you want to cultivate the bond? My heart felt too big. My breath shook. I stepped forward, closing the space between us until the glow of her markings brushed my chest like warm sunlight. Yes, I said quietly. I want to. Her breath hitched. Her glow bloomed bright rose gold. Jonah. Her hands reached for mine, but before she could touch me, a low rumble shook the ground beneath us. Not a drone. Not a news van. Something bigger. Kira stiffened, posture snapping into warrior alertness. That tremor, she whispered. It is not natural. The ground shook again. A crack splintered across the pavement. Kira? I said, panic rising. What now? Her eyes widened, markings flashing danger red. It seems, she said grimly, our bond has drawn more attention. I swallowed. More than drones? She nodded once. Another challenger approaches. Another WHET. Then the street burst open, and something massive began to rise. Kira grabbed my hand. This time, she said breathlessly, they brought a guardian beast. My jaw dropped. What the hell is a guardian beast? Kira's answer was almost apologetic. A traditional chaperone. A what? And then the creature roared. The next challenge had arrived. And it was enormous. The street did not politely crack. It erupted as if the pavement itself had given up on being normal. A massive shape rose from the fissure, shaking off chunks of asphalt like dandruff. At first, I thought it was a construction machine gone rogue. Then it exhaled, and the exhale smelled like hot stone, lightning, and the inside of a meteor. I yelped. Is that? Kira pulled me back as the creature hauled itself fully into view. It was huge, titanic, easily the size of a bus, with armor-like plating across its shoulders, that crackled with faint energy. 4 eyes glowed a soft jade, each blinking independently. Its body was sleek, but muscular, almost feline, but with massive forearms and a tail that shimmered like liquid metal. A faint bioluminescent crest spiked along its spine. And unhelpfully, it looked very interested in us. Kira stiffened. "Jonah," she said, voice tight, "that is a Yuktar guardian." "Okay," I said. Cool. "That explains absolutely nothing." She shot me a glare. "A traditional chaperone and judge. That still sounds like a giant alien hellcat someone hired as a wedding bouncer." Kira exhaled sharply. "They are ceremonial beings. They observe bonds, protect them, challenge them. It depends on intent." Great. What is its intent?" She shot a quick glance at its posture. A low crouch, tail swishing, nostrils flaring as it inhaled our scent. "Evaluative," she whispered. "Evaluative?" "It wishes to test us. Test us," I repeated, hysterical humor bubbling up. "Is it going to ask for references? Interview our emotions?" "Jonah," she said seriously, "Yuktar do not speak." "Then how?" "It reads resonance fields." I slapped my forehead. "Right, of course. Magical emotional polygraph monster." The ground shook as the beast shifted closer, lowering its head to sniff the air between us. Its breath was hot and weirdly minty. The creature rumbled, low and resonant, and the markings on its crest flashed a sequence of colors. Kira, startled. Jonah linked hands. "Now." I grabbed her hand instantly. She grabbed back firm, strong, the kind of grip meant for bracing. The beast paused. Its glow shifted. "It is requesting contact," Kira murmured. "I am in contact," I said, holding her hand up. "Look, contact." "No," she said, blushing faintly. "It requires closer contact." "Define closer." She stepped into me. Her other hand slid to my waist. My breath died. "This," she said, voice almost a whisper, "should suffice." I could barely swallow. "Very scientific." "Hush," she breathed, leaning her forehead toward mine. "Let it read us." I closed my eyes as her glow enveloped us, soft, warm, and instinctively comforting. Kira wasn't even trying to hide the trembling in her breath. The Yuktar sniffed again, deep enough to pull air from the alley. The rooftops, maybe the next district. Then its crest flickered. Gold, rose, soft white. Kira gasped. "It sees the bond," I whispered. "Is that good?" The beast rumbled a sound that felt like distant thunder. Then it lowered its head and nudged us. Very gently. Like a giant, terrifying cat booping 2 people it approved of. Kira's breath caught. "This is a favorable sign." I relaxed about 3%. "Favorable. Cool. Good kitty. Please don't eat us." The Yuktar's 4 pupils dilated. I froze. "Kira, is it offended?" "No," she said quickly. "It finds you amusing." "Oh, great. A giant alien emotion-sensing mountain lion thinks I'm a clown. It means your presence is harmonious. It means I'm clown energy. It means you are compatible," she corrected. I stopped mid-protest. "Compatible?" Kira's markings glowed a deep, intimate gold. "Yes." The Yuktar let out a satisfied huff, warm air washing over our faces, and then stomped one mighty foot. A blast of shimmering light erupted around it, forming a circular sigil on the ground. Its crest glowed bright white, and the creature slowly sank back into the street. No explosion. No dramatic roar. Just a smooth descent, like an elevator made of muscle and magic. Within moments, the pavement sealed behind it. Neat as you please. Silence swallowed the alleyway. I stared at the spot where a bus-sized cosmic pet had just burrowed back into the concrete. Kira? Yes, Jonah? Did a giant alien relationship judge just approve our relationship? She tilted her head. It validated our resonance. Yes. That's the same thing, right? More or less. I exhaled a long, trembling breath. Okay, sure. Yeah, fine. Why not? Kira's grip on my waist didn't loosen. Not even a little dot, in fact. Her fingers slowly curled more securely around me. Jonah, she said softly. I looked up. Her eyes had softened, molten, tender, glowing with something that wasn't combat logic or warrior instinct. Something warmer. Something I'd seen building for a long time, simmering under misunderstandings and accidental rituals and stabilizing contact. I asked you earlier, she whispered, if you wished to cultivate the bond. Yes, I said. I remember. You said yes, she breathed. Heat pooled through her glow, slow, vivid, earnest. But I did not give my answer. She murmured. My throat tightened. Kira. She stepped closer, chest brushing mine, bioluminescence shimmering between us. My answer is also yes. The world stopped. My heart, my brain, my entire molecular structure, everything went warm and dizzy and too intense in the best way. You, I choked. You want this? She nodded, glow rising like steady firelight. I want you. My knees nearly quit. Kira gently cupped the back of my head, lifting my face toward hers. This bond, this connection, she whispered, voice trembling. I wish to see where it leads. I couldn't even speak. So I let instinct guide me. I slid my hands around her waist and eyes, pulled her close. Her breath hitched, her markings flared. She leaned her forehead to mine. With a hungry hum, Jonah, she breathed. May I? Of course I knew what she meant. Yes, I whispered, but a sudden burst of static cut through the moment. A holographic panel shimmered into existence at Kira's hip. She froze. I stared. Is that your phone? It is a summons, she said stiffly. The projection stabilized, revealing the symbol of the hall. Voice spoke. Kira of House Vesh, you and your bonded are requested immediately. There has been a development. Kira grabbed my hand. What development? I asked. She swallowed. Tarl-9 Law has observed the Yuktar's verdict, and her grip tightened. They now consider us formally courting. My heart stopped. Formally? She nodded, glow flushing with a mix of pride and horror. And they expect us to begin the next ritual. The next ritual? What's the next rit? Kira looked me dead in the eyes, markings pulsing like a heartbeat. A ceremonial cohabitation trial. My jaw hit the floor. We already live together. No, she said gravely. A courtship trial is far more intimate. I squeaked. How intimate? Kira stepped closer, glow deepening, voice warm and low. Very. Very? I repeated, my voice cracking on the last syllable like a bad violin string. Define very, please. In human terms. Preferably with diagrams. Kira's glow shifted, warm rose. Then bright amber-like, she was both flustered and trying extremely hard not to show it. The ceremonial trial, she said carefully, requires synchronized living patterns. Shared routines, shared space. We already share space, I said. We literally share a bathroom. She shook her head. Not that kind of space, she murmured. Sleeping space. My brain blue-screened. A sleeping what now? I whispered. The ritual mandates that bonded partners inhabit the same rest field, she said. To test comfort, compatibility, and mutual safety instincts. Inhabit, I echoed, as in sleep in the same bed? Yes, she said. Then, with quiet emphasis, close. I made a strangled noise only dogs could hear. And, how long? I asked, voice squeaking upward in terror. 3 nights, she said. Minimum. And what exactly happens during these nights? She blinked at me, warrior calm. We sleep, that's all? Yes. And the intimacy part? I squeaked. She hesitated. Her markings fluttered faintly at her cheeks, an alien blush. Sleep proximity increases resonance synchronization, she murmured softly. The Hall views it as profoundly intimate. Oh, I said, feeling heat rush into my ears. Oh, okay, yeah, I'm fine. Totally fine. I'm a cool cucumber. A chilled produce item. No big deal. You are overheating, she noted. I said I'm fine. Kira stepped closer, her hand touching my wrist, her glow warm and steady. Jonah, you may refuse. That stopped me cold. You mean, I said slowly. I can say no, and the Hall will accept that? She nodded. The bond cannot be forced. You choose your path. And if I say no? I asked. Her glow dimmed just slightly, like a candle flickering. Then the bond stabilizes at its current level. Nothing more. Nothing less. Something in my chest twisted. Not painfully, just truthfully. And if I say yes? I whispered. Her fingers brushed the braid she'd woven in my hair. Gently. Tender. Even. Then, she said softly, we grow. Silence settled between us like a warm blanket. The street felt suddenly too quiet, too intimate for something so big. I swallowed. Kira, I said, I didn't get to finish, because the alley lights flickered. And an enormous hologram blinked to life above us, projected across the entire block. News anchor wide-eyed with perfectly coiffed hair appeared 20 feet tall, practically shouting, breaking news. A Tarl 9 Yuktar Guardian has emerged in New Brooklyn, indicating a legitimate alien courtship trial is underway. Kira went rigid. No, she groaned. No, 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 the anchor continued. Witnesses claim to have seen the warrior, Kira of House Vesh, and her human partner performing a resonance confirmation kiss. Kira covered her face with both hands, and sources confirm. The Hall has summoned them for an official cohabitation assessment. Make it stop. Kira muttered into her palms. I stared up in horror. The hologram shifted to grainy. Footage of us. Kissing. Radiating golden light and softening like cinematic idiots. Oh my God, I whispered. We're on the news. The reporter added cheerfully. Observers described the moment as romantic, explosive, and hashtag. Couple goals. I died inside. Kira died. More. Then. The hologram glitched again. A new figure appeared. RH all. Former co-commander Rawl, but not in person. No, in the form of a live interview, where he looked directly into the camera with the resigned exhaustion of a man who had lost a duel and very much hated that people knew it. I acknowledge the bond, Rawl said stiffly. It is valid. The reporter gasped. So you approve of Kira's human partner? Rawl clenched his jaw, pausing as if every cell in his body hated the next words. Yes. The reporter beamed. Any message for the pair as they begin their cohabitation trial? Rawl hesitated, then sighed. Do not make the trial awkward. Kira grabbed my shoulders. Jonah, we must leave this city. I burst into hysterical laughter. Leave the city? Kira, we're breaking the internet. All the more reason. She cried. But before we could move, her wrist device buzzed hard. A new hologram flickered on. This one wasn't from the news. It was from the Hall. A stern, elder voice said, Kira of House Vesh. Human Jonah. Report to Lumen Hall immediately. Your trial begins tonight. Kira swallowed. Jonah, she whispered. Are you certain? I looked at her, The warrior who accidentally braided me into a marriage ritual, who hummed when she was overwhelmed, who defended me in front of half a city, who glowed soft as a sunrise when she said my name. I'm certain. I said, her eyes widened softness blooming not, then a shuttle descended from the sky. Not a drone, not a cab, a sleek silver hull shuttle, lights glowing, landing gear unfolding like a giant metallic flower dot. It settled at the end of the alley with a soft hum. A door hissed open. Two elegant Tarl 9 attendants bowed. One said, "Honored partners, your transport awaits." Kira exhaled shakily. It is beginning. My heart twisted itself into a pretzel. I squeezed her hand. Together, I reminded her. Her glow flared softly, warmly. Yes, she whispered. Together. She led me toward the shuttle dot, and despite my nerves, despite the idea of a ritual trial that involved sharing a bed, despite the entire city watching us, I felt something unexpected. Hope. Warm and bright and terrifying. As we stepped into the shuttle, the door sliding shut behind us with a soft, final hiss. Kira leaned close and murmured, "Jonah, if you grow uncomfortable, you tell me. Immediately." I smiled. "And if you get uncomfortable?" I asked. She held my gaze. "I will tell you," she said. Immediately. The shuttle hummed to life. Kira sat beside me, glow gently brushing my arm. "Tonight," she whispered, "we sleep together." My heartbeat tripped. "Then tomorrow," she added, glow deepening, "we see what the bond becomes." The shuttle rose. The lights dimmed. And New Brooklyn fell away beneath us.